A travel agency abruptly closed, leaving dozens of Southwest Florida customers out thousands of dollars and with no vacation in sight.
Yeah, so what happened? NBC2 investigator Rachel Polansky tracked down the company's president for answers.
1967. A young couple just married and ready to take on the world. Half a century later, still in love and ready to celebrate a milestone.
Well, of course, it was for our 50th
wedding anniversary.
Jerry and Carolyn Ross decided to commemorate their happily ever after with a trip.
I guess sort of a present to each other.
But now that's not going to happen.
Had the rug pulled out from under us.
Their anniversary cruise was booked through a Southwest Florida travel agency called Legendary Journeys, and the couple was supposed to set sail to the Caribbean this weekend. But an email from the cruise line told them otherwise.
It had been canceled because of non-payment from Legendary Journeys.
And Jerry and Carolyn are not alone.
The cruise company said, well, we have not received any money from Legendary Journeys.
Bruce and Glory Herget are going through the same thing.
I couldn't believe it because we had traveled with them so many times, you know, and they were always pretty good.
So what happened? And where's the money? The NBC2 investigators went to the Legendary Journeys Fort Myers office.
All right, well, this is Suite 223, where Legendary Journeys used to be.
And then we drove to the company's office in Sarasota.
This is where the company was headquartered, but take a look at the storefront now. Locked doors, covered windows, and a sign that says office closed.
Eventually, we tracked down the president of the company, Al Ferguson, who agreed to an interview.
Where is the money that customers paid you?
Well, in various places. They were purchasing packaging that included airfare, that included touring, included hotels, and their deposit was far more than just the cruise component. And so as a result, their deposit went to many, many things.
Ferguson blames the abrupt closure on employee theft, Caribbean hurricanes, and unrest in Cuba. But he promises that every customer will be refunded.
We're expecting that we will be complete by the end of the year.
So people should expect to have their money back by December 31st?
Yes.
Still, customers we spoke with are skeptical.
We, as consumers, feel like you knew what you were doing and you took us. And we just hope that you'll abide by your word and repay us.
Now, Ferguson wouldn't tell me how many people lost their vacations when the company closed, but he says he has refunded customers more than $750,000 in the last month. Jerry and Carolyn tell me that none of the 20 people that booked in their group have gotten their money back. For the NBC2 investigators tonight, I'm Rachel Polansky. So people should expect to have their money back by December 31st?
Yes.
The NBC2 investigators are following up on a broken promise tonight. You heard the president of a South Florida travel agency say the customers would be refunded by December 31st. But investigator Rachel Polansky found out customers who had their vacations canceled are still waiting.
Yeah, Legendary Journeys abruptly closed its doors in November, leaving dozens of Southwest Floridian customers out thousands of dollars with no vacations in sight. The president told me that customers would be refunded when the new year began, but customers tell me that hasn't happened yet. Their Caribbean cruise set sail December 2nd.
It was for our
50th wedding anniversary.
But Jerry and Carolyn Ross weren't on board.
Had the rug pulled out from under us.
That's because their travel agency called Legendary Journeys abruptly closed its doors in November, leaving customers high and dry.
Kind of in disbelief that this could have happened.
The NBC2 investigators tracked down the president of the company, Al Ferguson, who agreed to an interview.
Where is the money that customers paid you?
Well, in various places. They were purchasing packaging that included airfare, that included touring, included hotels, and their deposit was far more than just the cruise component. And so as a result, their deposit went to many, many things.
Ferguson blamed the closure on employee theft, Caribbean hurricanes, and unrest in Cuba. But he promised that every customer would be refunded.
So people should expect to have their money back by December 31st?
Yes.
He just keeps giving us one lie, if you will, after another.
But as we all know, today is January 1st, and customers tell me they have not been reimbursed.
Not received one penny. Do not expect to at this point.
Now, in Mr. Ferguson's last email to customers, he said that Legendary Journey's closure would be administered through state and federal procedures, leaving many customers to believe that he is filing for bankruptcy. Now, I called him several times today, but he has not returned my phone calls. I will, of course, stay on top of this story. For the NBC2 Investigators, I'm Rachel Polansky.
New at 6, the Attorney General's office has now opened an investigation into a travel agency that abruptly closed its doors, leaving customers out thousands of dollars.
We have learned the complaints are much more widespread, and they go back a year. NBC2 investigator Rachel Polansky started reporting on this company 2 months ago.
Peter, those complaints just keep pouring in, and now I'm learning that the AG's office has received 161 complaints about Legendary Journeys in the last year.
We offered this trip on Avalon Waterways, which I'm very familiar with.
It was supposed to be the trip of a lifetime. A Portugal cruise sailing along the Douro River.
3 days in Lisbon, Portugal, and 3 days in Madrid.
It was a similar plan for these two, and the celebration of a milestone in the Caribbean.
Well, of course, it was for our
50th wedding anniversary.
But neither couple got their dream vacation.
Well, unfortunately, we're not going to get there now, so.
That's because their travel agency, Legendary Journeys, abruptly closed its doors. And 2 months ago, I questioned the agency's president, Al Ferguson.
Where is the money that customers paid you?
Well, in various places. They were purchasing packaging that included airfare, that included touring, included hotels, and their deposit was far more than just the cruise component.
Ferguson blamed the closure on employee theft, Caribbean hurricanes, and unrest in Cuba, but he promised that every customer would be refunded.
We're expecting that we will be complete by the end of the year.
So people should expect to have their money back by December 31st?
Yes.
That didn't happen. And 2 weeks ago, Ferguson told me that he had filed for bankruptcy. But when I checked the state's bankruptcy court records, nothing had been filed for Legendary Journeys or Al Ferguson. Attorney Richard Johnston explains a possible reason why.
They may be preparing a bankruptcy filing, but even in the most emergent situations, you can have a quick filing if you need to.
Johnston says bankruptcies for businesses typically fall into two categories.
In a Chapter 7, the court appoints a trustee to gather the assets and sell them off, and then pay the creditors. And in Chapter 11, the debtor who owes the money works with his creditor body to come up with a plan to repay.
Bottom line, if Ferguson files for bankruptcy and he actually has the assets he claims he has, customers may get some of their money back. But I learned that 161 people have sent complaints to the AG's office, so that could mean less money to go around.
If there's a large body of creditors, that may mean a lower per-person recovery.
In the meantime, customers are still waiting.
I'm just hoping, against odds, that the legal system in our country will do something to stop this.
And hoping that Ferguson will refund them.
Ferguson now tells me to call his attorney if I have any more questions. After several emails and calls to that attorney, a secretary told me that he would call me back later this week. For the NBC2 Investigators Tonight, I'm Rachel Polansky.
We have new information on an NBC2 investigation about a travel agency that shut down, leaving customers out thousands of dollars. After our reports aired, the Attorney General's office received more than 200 complaints and opened an active investigation into Legendary Journeys. Well, today, customers started receiving letters from the state about the abrupt closure and what comes next. NBC2 investigator Rachel Polansky has been following the story since November. She's live in the newsroom with what this all means. Rachel.
Lisa, according to the documents that I received today, 2 motions have been filed in what is basically a state bankruptcy case called an assignment for the benefit of creditors. Now, the man who sent the letter is an assignee that's similar to a bankruptcy trustee appointed to oversee the case, round up assets, liquidate them, and distribute the proceeds back to customers. Now, according to the documents, Legendary Journeys has about $3 million in assets. If those values are accurate, customers should be getting some money back. However, there's a long list of more than 1,000 people who say Legendary Journeys owes them money. So it's tough to say how much cash, if any, people will actually get back.
I'm one of the ones that have filed a complaint, so I'm in that bunch. I hope, I'm just hoping against odds, that the legal system in our country will do something to stop this, because it's not right to do this to anybody.
No one that we know of has received anything, and I don't believe they will.
If you are owed money, you should file a proof of claim immediately and make sure you do so by May 14th. You should receive something in the mail soon telling you how to file this claim, but if you don't, head on over to NBC2.com and I'll walk you through that entire filing process. For the NBC2 Investigators Tonight, I'm Rachel Polansky.
New tonight and only on NBC2, the man who shut down his travel agency, costing customers their vacations and money, came face to face with many of them for the first time.
NBC2 investigator Rachel Polansky was the only reporter there.
Mr. Ferguson, is there anything you want to say? Where is all the money? It was a packed house as Legendary Journeys president Al Ferguson was deposed in Sarasota. His first questioning under oath since shutting his doors.
I wanted to look in Mr. Ferguson's face and let him know that we're aware of how much he took from us.
That's Dale Payne.
Took a lot.
One of thousands of people.
We were supposed to go Mediterranean cruise.
Who lost a vacation and cash.
To me, it's fraud.
How much are you at a loss right now?
$10,128.
$10,000.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to say on behalf of Mr. Ferguson? Ferguson claims that Legendary Journeys has about $3 million in assets. If those values are accurate, customers should be getting some money back. But it's tough to say how much because it will be divided among hundreds of people who are owed.
Well, certainly if there are more creditors, it's going to dilute any recovery. So yes, if there's a large body of creditors, that may mean a lower per person recovery.
We have new information on an NBC2 investigation about a travel agency that shut down.
After our report started airing, the Attorney General's office opened an investigation into Legendary Journeys. 3 reps from our office were at the deposition, but their attempts to ask questions were only met with objections.
I was not happy that they weren't even able to ask one question. They were shut down. Unbelievable.
Frustrating for the state and for the customers looking on.
I don't see why the State Attorney General's office isn't pursuing criminal charges against this guy. He belongs in jail.
Now, the assignee on the case tells me that he's already received 500 claims from customers of Legendary Journeys. If you're owed money and you haven't filed a claim yet, you still have time to do so, but you must file by May 14th. For more information on how to do that, head on over to NBC2.com. For the NBC2 Investigators, I'm Rachel Polansky.